Hey everybody, welcome back to another video. We just recently got some more news regarding the upcoming new update for Ready or Not called Los Sueños Stories. And if you've been out of the loop lately, this new update will be a free DLC, and it will be releasing along with consoles sometime later this summer. We're going to be taking a look at various teasers of the new features, starting off with new maps. The Los Sueños Stories DLC is going to feature two new maps, both of which have heavy inspiration from previous maps that were left abandoned. The first one is called Hunger Strike, and it heavily resembles the fast food map from the early access phase. This map was only originally available as an early access version, and it didn't have any textures. There have been plenty of remakes of this map by map mod creators, and we've showcased a few of those on the channel as well. We're going to be getting a completely polished version of this fast food map, and based off of the screenshot here, it does look rather large compared to the original. Now, this does make me wonder if the map will be a bit bigger or if they are sticking with the smaller sized map like in the early access phase. Although I do find smaller maps to be more realistic in my opinion. We have talked about this in previous videos. I do think that if they were to go that route with smaller maps like this, they should make more of them. I'd love to have a bunch of smaller maps to play rather than massive buildings or maps with large open areas. And I know not everybody will agree with that, but that would definitely make for more realistic scenarios. And don't get me wrong, I do enjoy clearing the larger structures, but it would be nice to have a good mixture of the two. Right now, it definitely feels like the majority of the maps in Ready or Not are just way too complex. However, that is a conversation for another time. Next, we're going to be looking at a screenshot of the new map Stolen Valor. This map will be a search and rescue mission inside of a compact apartment building. Now, if memory serves me right, I think I know exactly which blockout map this was from back in the early access days. And if I'm correct, this map will have a lot of room clearing. They do mention that this map is extremely run down and will more than likely have a similar vibe to 213 Park Homes. The new update is also going to feature a handful of new guns and equipment. Firstly, we're looking at the highly sought after M32A1 launcher. This launcher was available in-game in the early days and was since removed. They are bringing it back for this update, and it now has the ability to load various different types of 40mm rounds, where previously you only had the ability to shoot flash grenades. Now, this is a great extra addition as it is realistic with the LAPD arsenal in real life, which is what Los Sueños PD is based off of. The launcher will only be available as a primary weapon, which I have my own opinions about, considering many operators carry these even with their long gun, but I can completely understand it from a gameplay balancing perspective. Now, with that, you are going to be limited to a small amount of ammo, which is another thing to consider. Overall, I'm mostly excited to see this launcher return. We have been missing it for a while now, and I'm glad we're getting it back. Next, we're taking a peek at the Mark V Action Express pistol. This is an oversized 1911 platform with capabilities of shooting Action Express ammunition. I've said this before when they first announced this firearm. I personally don't think I'll ever use this routinely, just based off of its high recoil and the low magazine capacity. I'd probably opt out of using this one. However, don't get me wrong, this gun might make for a fun challenge, but yeah, there's very little practicality here. I hate to be the fun police on this one, but I really think they would have benefited from just adding a more realistic style of pistol. This next one is a less than lethal sidearm. This is a pepperball pistol and has a very short magazine capacity. I could definitely see this being useful in claustrophobic environments, but other than that, I think you'd be better off choosing a beanbag shotgun or another less lethal weapon. You also have to consider that you can opt in to carry a taser instead, which doesn't take up your secondary slot, and it will do a similar job in tight close quarters circumstances. And with that as well, you wouldn't have to give up your lethal sidearm either. As cool as this weapon may look, I think I would honestly stay away from this one as well. Lastly, we've got the new mag-fed shotgun, the 590M. This is the first ever magazine-fed shotgun in the game. I believe so. I think there was a gun hidden in the files that used to be there in the early alpha days. It was a drum-fed magazine shotgun, but I don't count that because you can't gain access to that without a mod. So with the 590M, the magazine itself holds what I believe is 10 rounds based off of the video that we're watching here. The 590M can use magazine magazine sizes from a 5-round magazine to a 20-round magazine. So just based off of what I see here, he shoots 7 rounds and then reloads. So I think it's safe to assume this may be a 10-rounder, and who knows if we're going to have the ability to have larger capacity magazines in the future. Now, I'm not a massive shotgun guy. I think rifles can do the job better, but I'm absolutely excited to see what this gun can do on release. One thing I wanted to bring up that I didn't see in the newsletter, and I really hope they address this, is the attachments overhaul that they said they were going to bring in. We don't see anything here in the newsletter regarding it, and I don't know if they mentioned it in the previous newsletter, not that I can remember. I really hope they touch up on that. I really would like to see that in the next update. Moving on, we're going to be discussing the addition of the difficulty system. They mentioned that they are introducing a substantial amount of changes to suspect AI. They say that enemy AI will now have squad behaviors, which allows them to rally, support, attack, and retreat. We did talk about this a little bit in the last video. Of course, and I'm very thankful of this type of behavior will only be implemented on suspect AI where it makes sense. For example, we're not going to be seeing crackheads with military style training running around and flanking us in full squads. This will only take place for the more advanced suspect types. However, they do mention here that on the harder difficulties, on hard difficulty in specific, every single mission with the exception of the gas station level will have advanced AI behavior. I don't know how I feel about that, but I think it will make the game more challenging, so we'll just have to wait and see. On casual mode, there will be no squad behavior at all. They are also implementing major fixes to suspect AI when it comes to threat recognition. Previously, we had issues where utilizing deadly force was considered unauthorized. Sometimes when you shoot an armed suspect with a knife that is running at you, the game wouldn't detect that the suspect was armed, therefore giving you a false use of force report. They do aim to fix this so that all enemies with melee weapons are considered a deadly threat. AI suspects are now also going to have the ability to switch between semi-auto and full auto depending on the situation. We will no longer be getting sprayed at from across the map anymore as well. They plan to fix this with this new implementation too. They mentioned that when you play on harder difficulties, the suspect AI will be much more accurate and will be more difficult for the player to locate, making for a much more difficult gameplay experience. And adding on to that, on harder difficulties, when a suspect surrenders, they will have a much higher likelihood of exiting their surrender state and grabbing a firearm off the ground or grabbing one that is on their person. I really like this because it makes it so that you're forced to stay on your guard and ensures you aren't giving up necessary security on suspects that are surrendered. They also hint at the new ability for suspects to pick up weapons that are dropped from your incapacitated SWAT members. So now you really are going to have to make sure that you secure those firearms that are dropped from your down team members. And that is going to be everything to go over here. Unfortunately, we don't have a release date just yet, but it definitely sounds like they are making a lot of progress. I'm so excited to play the new maps and try out the new difficulty system. This absolutely is going to be a fun update. Let me know what you guys think down below in the comments. I hope you all enjoyed, and we'll see you in the next one.